Right, let me invite up Amr and Ian and Simon. Thank you both very much indeed. We're really in a takeoff mode in this conference now, particularly of what has to be achieved tomorrow, about how dramatic, how determined you're prepared to be to do what is necessary. And I want this session on operational excellence to be a kind of takeoff moment for today, for tomorrow. Amr, let me come to you first, because you have some ideas about where we should be going, how brave, how bold those out there are prepared and willing to be.
Thank you very much, Nick. And where's my presentation? Okay, I don't need it.
It should work, Emma.
Try the other way.
Give it a try. Press a different button.
No problem.
Okay.
I'll manage without.
We need some excellence here.
No problem. The point is, and you have attended our CEO discussion, and this is what we have been talking all around the day, and this is what was confirmed by even the financial sector, that it should start on the efficiency side. It's very simple. It's very clear. The efficiency within a cement plant has 5 angles to work on. We have what we call the operations optimization. We have the sustainability side of the business. We have the people side of the business. And we have the digital side of the business. And we have governing them, the GRC, or the governance side of the business. Those 5 angles are where we do operational excellence. If you've seen the discussions that we had, taking it top-bottom, all CEOs has a problem top, which is CEO to board. This is a GRC problem. This is a governance problem. If governance is well managed, optimized, and done in a strategic manner, and the strategy is really a strategy, not a document, then there wouldn't be a problem or a gap or a misunderstanding or a gap of speed or a gap of pace between CEOs and boards. Because the business around the board, as we could see from all the discussions, is aligned on the net zero or the green direction in a way or another. Until we see green money and gray money, there won't be a distinction, there won't be a discussion. But till we have that, boards are aligned with the business world around them to what's green and what's not green. So if this is there and the governance is there, the agreement with the CEOs wouldn't be a problem. That is on that layer. On the other layer, if the strategy is really a strategy in the rest of the GRC, the risk and compliance part, then there won't be a problem in implementing plans, in follow-up plans, even if, as Ian rightfully said, the time of operation is beyond the CEO, is beyond the incentive. But if there is GRC, we don't have this problem, because risk and compliance doesn't change with the bonus. It goes forward. So if you fix that, and you fix the human part of it, capability, performance, and employee value proposition. Because employee value proposition is a customer that Bram was talking about. Now customers are aware of green to the limit that people are greenwashing their products. Why don't we greenwash our operations? At least we are doing something good. So EVP, performance management, and talent acquisition, or talent management. Those 3 parts. This is the human part within. This is the soft side of the solution. This takes us to the hard side of the solution. Operational excellence, or operational optimization, which is very simple and well known between all our cement players. Energy, whether it's thermal or power. Quality, to produce good clinker, to be able to produce SEM 2 and SEM 4 and SEM 3 and whatever SEM that is there. You cannot do it unless you have good quality of clinker. Actually, this is the blocker of mixed cement. It's not the market, and it's not the construction, and it's not the developers. It's because we produce mediocre clinker. Our production people, our operation, our COOs are afraid to produce high percents of clinker removal because their clinker is mediocre. If their clinker is of high quality, they will do it with a very strong heart. So energy from thermal, energy from electrical, and clinker quality. Up to that, you have all the basics of operational excellence. This will take you to being able to have fuel flexibility to adopt alternative fuels, and the problem is not waste management, and it's not the availability of the alternative fuel or the investment for alternative fuels. This is excuses. The problem is we did not optimize our line sufficiently to be able to have the proper fuel flexibility to inject any fuel knowing the actual risk and impacts of the process and manage it properly. So we try to find a solution. We try to find an excuse to that. But if we did that, alternative fuels are available. You can mix it. When coal was a problem in some countries, we were forced, in South Africa, for example, we were forced to fire slum, which is not a good coal. But we had to do it. I found you. But we had to do it, right? And it's not a good coal. And in Nigeria, we were forced to go for lignite. And it was very bad, but coal was very expensive. It was $250. So we had to find a solution. So we went to lignite, and it worked. So we had safety issues in grinding and firing lignite. And if you looked on paper, it doesn't make sense. It's very unsafe. But it was done, and it worked, and it was adopted later on. So again, the necessity creates innovation. So this is the parts of the solid side of the operation. Just to summarize: energy, thermal, energy, electrical, which will take you, once you optimize it, will take you to a proper waste heat recovery design that will have a good ROI, and will take you to the capability also to use renewable energy because you know exactly the power allocation of your asset, so you will be able to decide exactly what can come from solar, because you cannot start the mills on solar, but unless you have a detailed map of your consumer numbers, you will not be able to install renewable energy. You will be able, but you will not have sufficient confidence of the ROI unless you have these numbers. So those are, and clinker quality. Those are the 5 pillars of the hard side of the process. The other side is the digital maturity. Once you start the journey of operational excellence, the first thing you will see is that you need much more numbers to be able to track and control. So where you will be able to use the automation assets that is already available within our industry abundantly. Our industry produces around 18,000 input every 2 seconds. You can imagine the number of dashboards and trends and analysis you can do with these numbers. But we don't do. We don't use it. So once you start the operational excellence, you will find yourself in need to numbers. So you will start the digital maturity part with data acquisition. Once you see the data and you see the trends, automatically by human nature, you will try to control it, balance it. So you will move from normal automation to expert automation. Once this happens, you will find that the expert automation and the operator are limited in making it linear enough not to impact the results you're looking for. You will move automatically to machine learning and artificial intelligence. On your own, you won't need a push for it. But because you are still on the automation side, whoever talks to you about artificial intelligence is making no sense. Your value still moves on a daily basis 10, 15%. So it doesn't make any sense. But when you are in the 2%, you will find that you are tight. That's the end of it. So you will move to artificial intelligence. So this is the digital maturity side. And once you go in the green side, the ESG part, when you have a proper GRC, you will be forced to report properly outside of the corporate. The only way to do that is an optimized ERP with proper reporting channels that produces full, declared transparent reports that you can manage with the market, and that will take you in the cycle of the ESG. And so this is simply the summary of operational excellence within the cement industry.
Thank you. Simon Jensen, welcome. You haven't been on the platform yet, but you are now.
Yes.
Now, what's your response to what you've just heard from Amr about operational excellence?
Well, I very much agree to it, because also what I think is that we need to demystify this whole issue, to demystify the decarbonization, right? Because, I mean, sometimes we have to translate it down in the organization to not to be something very difficult. You know, of course, it's a matter of people. It's not just a matter of technology. It's a matter of the people on the floor, on the ground, that they are aware of the implications of the strategy that we make as CEOs or whatever. It has to be translated into a language that they understand. And we have to look and see also where we need to upgrade the people that we have, right? And of course, what also Amr mentioned, you know, digitalization, it's a very, very important point. And many plants say also, we've got lots of digitalization. Yes, but there's a lot of digital islands. And the problem is that there's a lot of data. Maybe there are too much data even, but this data is old data. It's not real-time data. You know, a doctor doesn't examine a patient when he's dead, right? Do it when it's alive, and you react to the conditions that you find. And that's why it's so important to get the real-time data. And today, we have systems in the industry, not very expensive systems, you know, ERP systems, optimizer systems, and so forth, which can really have an impact in giving you, as well, plant manager or whoever it is, the real-time tools, to correct things, and then also to avoid, of course, habits of the different operators that you have the night shift supervisor. He might have different ways of operating the things, right? So, but again, I think what is very important is to demystify it, right? Because when we speak to people on the floor, they say, oh my God, decarbonization, it's something really, I mean, I don't have a PhD, I don't understand this, right? It's so important to explain it to the people, to get them with you. And it's not so difficult. It's been done. I mean, you both, know what happened in Yanbo. I happen to know what happened in Yanbo years ago, right? And I saw the journey, what happened there, with relatively little efforts or investment, very few investment, right? You brought the plant up to operational excellence. And it's possible to do. It's a matter of the human resource again, right? And this is where Sohir comes in tomorrow also, talking about, we should look at the human resources, at the raw material, which is equally important as limestone, right? This is the human raw material.
Let me invite you to have a shot at demystifying decarbonization. What's your demystified definition?
That's a good question. Yeah.
You walked into this one.
You need to explain to people, not just to send a PowerPoint or whatever. You need to explain to the people, and by words and by examples, right? People get afraid. Of course, also, it's important that you will reward people who are, I would say, involved in the day-to-day operation. You put simple, achievable goals. You know that there are all these low-hanging fruits as well. You don't even need a ladder to pick them, right? But then to celebrate the small thing, you start with this. We know that 30% we can achieve, maybe even more, without any operational expense or big capex expenses, right? And then we also have to reward these people. They have to feel a victory every time they see, okay, yes, I did something here. Like we saw, Mahindra was very proud of Dalmia Cement,
I was about to say that,
Fantastic, yes. 480, right? Yes.
Is there anyone in the room who's been through this process of demystifying much of what you have to explain? Think about it, please. An expert in HR. Introduce yourself as well.
Simply, it's communication.
Wait a minute, let's have the microphone. Is it?
Yeah, is it working now? Okay, simply, it's communication, constant communication, from top to bottom. Constant communication
Just
means...
explain what you do and where you're working. I know, but not everyone
I'm
here.
Sohair Abu Salem. I'm Human Capital and Communication Director in A³&Co. Simply, we are speaking here about constant communication from top to down, which means there are a lot of discussions about many projects, many directions on the way to net zero. But who's going to bring this vision into reality? They are people. So there should be a plan clear to people and clear objectives, clear goals from top to down. That means that requires that leaders on the top, they have to show the commitment, to set the tone in their organizations, to lead by example. To lead by example, that means when they show seriousness to their direct reports and even have some discussions at all levels from time to time, to have it maybe monthly, quarterly, to discuss results, to share ideas, to maybe explore what happened, what successes happened, what challenges they are facing. That will definitely support the cascading down and having the commitment across the organization.
In your experience in the HR community, is this something that is done regularly, and is it done enough?
It must be done regularly, and communication is never enough. More communication will definitely have a positive impact. What do we mean by communication? Communication by regular meetings. Regular meetings, it depends on to whom you are speaking. Even the type of messages should be tailored. It depends on to whom you are speaking, what you need to deliver. Sharing results, it's very important where we are. Are we on the right track? Are we behind? I saw Bram's presentation. There is an annual reduction requirement, where we are from that. So communication is very important. It has to be also planned. It has to be proactively set to whom, about what, when, and yes.
All right, demystifying. Anyone else want to come in, please? Yes, over here, microphone literally just in front of the sound deck. I can't see you, I'm afraid.
Maybe here better. Matthias Meersmann again, CTO of KHD. Demystification is important, but I think there's one thing that is even more important, and that is motivation. And honestly, we've been talking all day now about this subject, and honestly, I'm missing one perspective here, and that is the perspective of looking at this situation here as an opportunity instead of a threat. And there are multiple examples of changes, transitions having come over industries where industry participants have been looking like rabbits in front of a snake, being horrified of transitions coming up to them. And later on, it turned out to be an excellent opportunity. And I think if we look at this situation we're in, we have to also adopt a systemic, holistic view on it. We have to just face that we are looking at the transition from the fossil age into the post-fossil age. And this is very clear, and it's coming up. And we can now sit and claim about costs rising, like we did this morning, and we understood that to be a dilemma. At the same time, fossil fuel costs raising and additional costs ahead for decarbonization. In fact, this is all two different phases of the same thing going on. It's about the fossil age coming to an end, and we are in what transformation scientists call the interregnum. And that goes along with a lot of uncertainty, and that is what we are suffering from. And we have been challenging all those cost raises and all this very much today, and went into details about financing, details about technology, and all this. We have not yet taken on the perspective that this is also an opportunity. And I'm not going to waste much more time here, just to give you some examples. I think 30 years ago, the catalyst was to be introduced into cars. And what did we hear claims about from the car industry? Oh, we're not going to sell any cars anymore. They're going to be too expensive. Nothing of that happened. And it's the same. It's going to be the same here. This is an opportunity for everyone here in the cement industry. Everything along the value chain, from quarry operators, from equipment suppliers, cement producers, concrete producers, traders, everybody here in the industry is part of this change. And it's a massive opportunity for everybody to get engaged.
Are you saying there's a mindset problem?
We're looking at this change that's coming towards us with much too much anxiety and much too few understanding that this is holding an opportunity for each and every one of us. And we have to be the ones taking the right positions, making the right decisions, being part of a success story. Because one thing is very clear, this is all totally inevitable. It is totally inevitable. We don't have to sit and wait and hope that all this decarbonization is not going to come. We're not here to wait until a government forces us. It is all a done deal. The states have been committing to decarbonization, and the governments have to fulfill it, and we will get to it. And everybody here in this room can be very clear, it's going to come. So what do? Let's make up our minds, be inventive, and make sure that we take a benefit from it.
That's a big message to drive forward for tonight. Does anyone else want to come in? Ian, do you want to come in and pick up on demystification?
I would. I'd like to a little bit change the angle that we're looking at this. So what we're trying to do in putting together the roadmap is to be helpful. A lot of roadmaps that I've seen, starting with the IEA one a long time ago, really talk about where the savings can come from without really talking about how to get there. And the basic concept of a roadmap is it shows you how to get from A to B. And so in the roadmap that we've put together here, we're trying to be helpful and trying to chart out how to get from A to B. So the reason that we put operational excellence as the first step is partly because operational excellence is something that is largely within our control. So if we talk about product portfolio, which we have as the second step, then that in many cases will require some sort of cooperation with standard setters, with customers, so with people outside the cement plants. There's a lot of potential there. There's more potential there than in operational excellence, but it is something that requires additional stakeholders to be involved. But if we look at operational excellence, it's something that we're in control of. And I'm sure that many of you have had the experience that if you're responsible for a number of plants, that you can focus on one plant and you make improvements at this plant and you think, this is great, you know. And this plant has gone from, I don't know, 700 kilocalories per ton to use units that none of you are using, but sorry, that's what I was thinking, down to 680 or something like this. And then, okay, so they're improved, and now we focus the team on a different plant. We focus on the second plant for a while, and then when you come back a couple of years later to look at the first plant, discover that they're not doing so well anymore. And so the operational excellence is also partly about sustainability. And I think a lot of the digital technologies that we have available to us now make that a little bit easier than it was in the past. As Amr and Simon both pointed out, there's a lot of information available to us that we can use to make sure that we keep these gains. So really, that's the role of having operational excellence up front. Of course, it involves some technology upgrades, and Matthias, as you pointed out this morning, we know the technology that makes this work. But it also involves HR, as Suhail quite correctly pointed out. But it's a systematic approach that allows us to make the most of what we have and to retain the gains.
Right, we've been at this for 8 hours. I think we've got to take off. And Matthias, I'm going to rephrase or paraphrase what you said. There's too much anxiety and it's holding us back. I'd like you to go away for tonight, and the gala dinner is tomorrow night, not tonight. I'd like you to go away and come back at 9:30 in the morning, 9:25 in the morning, thinking about how that anxiety can be dispensed with or removed in order to achieve the kind of changes that are needed, which is why we're meeting here, to navigate the climate challenge, reducing carbon and reducing costs. Do you have any kind of thought for further action? Amr, tonight, not too long. I think everyone's been here a long time today. Anything more you want to add to that?
Yes, only one comment. That is, seeing is believing, and there is a lot of cross-regional. I'm talking about the region, so we're not outside of that. Within the region, there are cross-regional examples that we can imitate cross-regional very easily.
Simon.
We can learn from each other, but also set this communication, right? You know, when I, many years ago, started with formerly FL Smith, the strategy, nobody knew about it. It was locked up in a room up in the boardroom, right? So it was only once per year shared with 2 or 3 people. This is so important to share this with the people on the floor, with the sweeper. I don't think it's done.
Yeah. Ian.
People don't know where they are going to.
Yeah,
And then you can't motivate.
I'd like to build on what Simon just said there. You know, I think what you have to have is, of course, first of all, alignment amongst the management team. And then you drive that down right the way to the front line. But you know, I compare this with safety, and you know, all of us in the cement industry struggle to maintain good safety records. And safety is very much a test of how well you have got alignment at the management team and have driven down that message to the front line, because safety is very much affected by choices that people are making on the front line. Now, if you can achieve a good standard in safety, then you can certainly achieve the same kind of alignment and engagement on improving climate performance, because that is much more of a top-down issue. There are a lot more decisions that you're taking at the management level and then driving down. So I think, you know, for all of you, I'm sure that many of you have worked on improving safety records over the last few years, last many years. If you can do that, you can certainly do this.
All right, well, I'd encourage you to think boldly, be bold, and come up with solid ideas which you can share tomorrow, even if it's only one idea for all of you. But can I thank you enormously for your stamina, your focus. The fact that all of you are still here at 5:45 is fantastic, which is great testament to the organizers, for Ian, for Amr, and all the WCA and A³ team. The fact that they've kept the momentum going, and you've helped keep the momentum going. That shows there's an interest, a concern, and a commitment on these critical issues. And I'm going to remind you what the reason you're here: navigating the climate challenge to reduce carbon and reduce costs. So can I thank you all very much indeed. If you haven't signed up to the gala dinner and you want to go there tomorrow night, please do so. They'd like to know that they should be providing you with food. And secondly, if you want to go to the site visit on Wednesday, then please sign up for that. Any other messages? All right.
Well, one other message, actually, and this is perhaps jumping forward too far, but if we think about navigating the climate challenge, it's not something we're going to finish this year. So I just wanted to say...
Don't be too pessimistic.
I just wanted to say that we also plan, as WCA, to come back here next year, come back to Dubai about this time of year and have the next conference here. So at that stage, Nick, hopefully we can report a lot of progress.
And to check how much they've achieved. We want case studies.
Sounds a good idea.
Right, so we'd like to hear your successes. Thank you all very much indeed. I can say you're free now. Thank you very much indeed.